So on the way for you very shortly, as we said, Sanwa Trophy for the pre-66 Minis. I think the clear up around the circuit has almost been done, so all cars have been recovered, and we'll have the older specification cars onto the circuit very shortly, just making their way now out of the assembly area. But of course, before we get the race underway, we'll have a quick chat, hopefully, with some of the drivers from the Mini Emilia race that we've just seen, catch up on the thoughts of the drivers and how they felt it went. But I'm sure Ian Curley, after yesterday's non-finish, will be a lot happier that he got to the end and also on the top step of the podium. So that means that his championship is not quite drifting away as he thought it might be yesterday. And as we mentioned, you can drop 4 races from your championship in that round of the years that we go through. So the Mini Emilias will have the opportunity to drop the 4 races across the course of this season. But of course, as you go through, if you have more bad results, it means there are less of those results you are allowed to drop later in the year, and it can become quite crucial when we head to the final round of the season for the Mini Emilias, which will be at Silverstone sometime in October. So just a recap of the grid for those watching on the live stream. You can see that we have a very healthy grid, as we mentioned, out there for this race. So 32 will make their way onto the grid, hopefully all there. I think the first 4 or 5 rows are all present and correct. 7th row now just being ushered into position by our wonderful marshals here at Brands Hatch this weekend. One of them slightly out of position. I think Stephen Woodrow in the 101 machine now being pushed into his place on the grid, and then the last couple of cars into their position as well. We'll have a green flag up, of course, so chance for the drivers to evaluate the circuit, possibly for the first time today, especially in these cars. And then, as we said, they'll be looking forward to a 20-minute race, the first of 2 this weekend. One right now and a second one to look forward to later on. And a car you might spot down towards the back, which is a little bit unusual. That's going to be the Wolseley Hornet, which is normally pedalled by Neil MacArthur, and that's exactly the same for today as well. So watch out for that Wolseley Hornet, the number 9 machine of Neil MacArthur, who finds himself down towards the rear of the grid in 25th position. So it's an unusual car, but nice to have it on the grid for this Sanwa Trophy. It's all the way down the back there on the left-hand side of the grid, just where the marshals are now working their way past him, and Neil MacArthur will be on his way very shortly. In fact, alongside him should have been the car of Claudia Cassina, but that one, by the looks of things, is missing, unfortunately. So we're 1 down, but still 31 on the grid. Tom Bell, I can see, is towards the rear of the field. It's kind of a chance now to put your money down where you think Tom Bell will be at the end of the first lap. Probably somewhere definitely inside the top 20 if he stays out of drama. But by the end of the race, I would probably say definitely inside the top 10. He might be vying for a podium as well. So do keep an eye on that car from the back. 20 minutes for him to try and get his way through the field. As I said, if he stays out of drama and feeds his way through nicely past all of the slightly slower cars ahead of him, he might be okay to do something about that. So one to watch out for. Not too sure what the dramas were for Tom Bell yesterday, but good to see that the team have got the car fixed. And in fact, he did manage to get out in the kind of latter stages of the qualifying session for the Mini Spares 50th anniversary trophy qualifying session yesterday as well. So that was good news for Tom. Gave him a little bit of a chance of a practice, and he will be trying to do some good things, as I said, from the back of the grid. So Nathan Heathcote and Phil Bullen-Brown will lead them away. Nick Padmore and Declan Edgecombe will be there on the second row of the grid. Nick had some problems yesterday in qualifying, but good to see that he got a few laps in and will be there third on the grid. Matthew Page and Jonathan Page, as we mentioned, on row number 3, and then Ollie Burkitt and Jimmy Broadbent on row number 4. And to complete the top 10, it will be Sam Summerhays and Dan Wheeler, who will be there in the 888 machine. So this class, as mentioned, for the pre-66 Mini races, which are open to all 4-seater passenger cars from the Mini family, which were produced prior to 1966. They all use pretty much the Mark 1 Mini Cooper S 1.293 twin H4 carbureted, built to the Appendix K specification, which run on Dunlop tyres as well. A great addition to the Mini Festival over the last couple of years. I think many people were calling for this in terms of a racing perspective, and of course Nick Swift and all the team managed to get this on a couple of years ago. So well done to them. They did say to us earlier that a few cars had dropped out, but I still said that the entry is pretty impressive, with over 30 cars on the grid for this weekend. So looking forward to this immensely. In qualifying yesterday, Nathan Heathcote did a 57.145, which in the end was a couple of tenths of a second quicker than Phil Bullen-Brown, and all of them were fairly closely matched towards the head of the order. So take your pick, take your favourite driver, take your favourite car, and see who's going to come out on top at the end of this 20-minute race, with all the cars now starting to line up back into position. The kind of light grey machine of Nathan Heathcote on pole position, the white with the red roof of Phil Bullen-Brown alongside, the green car of Nick Padmore there in third place, and then the very blue turquoise machine, which you'll be able to spot, of Declan Edgecombe. Row 3 sees the lighter green machine of Matthew Page and the red one of number 33, Jonathan Page. And then as we head towards the final rows of the grid, Tom Bell there in the all-white number 34 machine into position, and as soon as he gets to his 32nd place on the grid, we will have the green flag from the rear from what looks to be a trainee marshal this weekend, which is nice to see. So all of them getting a bit of training in before they take their career a little bit further in the world of motorsport. But 20 minutes of racing for the Sanwa Trophy pre-66 minis gets underway now. A lot of wheel spin off the line there from Nathan Heathcote, so it's a better start from Phil Bullen-Brown, and also Declan Edgecombe gets a good start from the outside of row number 2 in that turquoise car. Tom Bell's already up about 6 places, maybe 7, maybe 8 actually, by the time they hit Paddock Hill Bend. So I said top 20 by the end of the first lap. I said probably a podium by the end of the race, and he's already made up now 10 by the time they got themselves towards Druids Corner. So on their way they go to the first lap to be completed, and on their way round towards the left-hand at Graham Hill Bend.
Yep, and it is that leading two of Phil Bullen-Brown and Nathan Heathcote as they head along. It's Heathcote in the 155 that's in the lead in that slightly greyer car, and then Phil Bullen-Brown, and those two seem to have got away from the rest of the field at the moment, but they're incredibly close, the pair of them, and Phil Bullen-Brown in that white car with the kind of red roof, the 193 car. So it's those two that lead as they come across the line to complete the first lap here, and then there's quite a bit of a gap all the way back to that aqua blue car, the 21 car of Declan Edgecombe there, who has made up a place off the start. Nick Padmore, who had those difficulties in the race yesterday, not quite sure what the difficulties were, but stopped on the inside of Paddock Hill Bend yesterday. He's down into 4th place, very well known in the world of historic motor racing, Nick Padmore. But just having a quick look, and you said top 20, that time by the young Tom Bell had made it into 17th place, so you were quite right to predict a top 20 place by the time they ended lap 1, and we've got one well into the grass on the exit of Graham Hill Bend, fortunately avoids the gravel, and that's car 103, so that's car 103. Just having a quick look there, certainly looked like car 103. It may have, yes it was, it was the from 20th position, it was Annie Watts going very wide at the exit of Graham Hill Bend. But our lead two now head towards Paddock Hill Bend, but we have got yellow flags.
We have, yep. Safety car has been deployed because we've got 2 cars off. We've got one on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend, which I believe is Ben Butler, and we've also got the other one, which is Gregor Froscher. So those 2 cars have come together. Unfortunately, I think it was due actually to Tony Wrighton, who had a moment through Paddock Hill Bend. He lost it, and then those 2 unfortunately clipped him in the process as well. So it's Gregor on the outside in the yellow machine, and it's Ben Butler, which has just been pushed by the marshals down through the inside of Paddock Hill Bend to a place of safety. So not what we wanted to see, especially in these lovely looking pre-66 minis. They take a lot of preparation. Drivers admire them very much indeed, but unfortunately we've had a couple with some damage, and we can see the right light of Ben Butler has been lost, and maybe a little bit of damage on the right front as well. Yeah,
also looked like the 42 there was struggling with steering as well, so whatever that damage is, it does look like it's going to be substantial, but hopefully not too substantial, and we can actually get to a point for next race where he can actually be out. But the safety car leading them round at the moment. The marshals are out dealing with the cars in the gravel at the moment, so we've got 2 cars for the marshals to deal with at Paddock Hill Bend at the moment, so we're likely to be a lap or 2 under the safety car, unfortunately, but it does give everyone a chance just to rest things. Safety car slowing right down. Chris Salt driving that safety car at the moment, and just slowing it right down to give everyone the chance to catch up. up, because we did have a couple of cars off the back of the field who needed to just make their way round. We've still got one straggler making their way around Druids at the moment, but the Marshal's doing very well. We can see on the screen at the moment the 42 car there, Ben Butler, is actually trying to physically fix whatever is, I think it looks like the front wing is rubbing on the steering. He's unable to steer it, and he's literally pulling it with his hands. He's now helping the Marshals getting that car clear, which is very good of him, really, very considerate, because the Marshals at Paddock Hill Bend this weekend have been pretty busy. Yesterday it was busy, fortunately not quite as busy today.
Yeah, a bit of brute force always does the job, doesn't it? So Ben Butler gets his car out of a good position with the help of the Marshals as well. The car being recovered from the top of paddock is Piers Tyne, actually, in the 121 machine. So Piers is the other one that was involved with some drama. So we've lost about 3 or 4 during this race so far, and he will unfortunately be one of those out of this race at the minute. So he will be the man who has the dramas to deal with. And in terms of Nick Padmore, thank you very much to our reporter who's on duty this weekend, I think, for some of the magazines, informed us that there was an electrical issue which did cut the car out. So he had the electrical issue, he had no power whatsoever. So there was a drama with that one, which meant that he was going to go no further in that qualifying session. So off he goes to do a better result this time round, does Nick Padmore in that 56 machine. For now, though, we've got Piers Tyne, who has been recovered from the top of Paddock Hill Bend. He will, of course, be possibly out this race. When you cause yourself to bring out a safety car, you're told then to go to a place of safety, which will either be the inside of Paddock Hill Bend, whilst also trying to get the gravel out of the car as well, because we never want gravel to be dispersed onto the circuit. It makes it quite slippy for some of the other drivers to deal with as well. Still waiting for Gregor Froscher's car to be recovered. It's a very long tow which is needed by trackside recovery, and I think they're just digging it a little bit deeper, unfortunately. But again, a bit of brute force from that 4x4 will get it clear, and a grand job that the recovery team do here at Brands Hatch. So well done to all of them, as the safety car continues to lead them round at the minute. Just under 14 minutes to go. Nathan Heathcote is the man who still heads the way. Phil Bullen-Brown there in second place. Third place is going to be Declan Edgecombe. And then behind that, we've got Nick Padmore with the likes of what's going to be Jonathan Page up into fifth place. Unfortunately, the other Page of Matthew has dropped down into 11th position. Sam Summerhayes is next up in sixth place. And then you've got Dan Wheeler, followed by Jimmy Broadbent. Watch out for Jimmy, because he's having a whale of a time so far this weekend. Did a grand job in qualifying, and he's very much looking forward to getting his elbow stuck into this race as well. Ninth place for the number 158 machine is going to be that of Ollie Burkitt, and then 10th place is the 45 machine of David Ogden. So that's how it currently looks under this safety car. We've got the safety car going a little bit slower now along the Cooper Straight, so I think we're going to get ourselves back into the race very much shortly. Rob, if you're down there, I think we're going to have to do the podium off mic, unfortunately, due to our live stream. So if you've got drivers, you can do it, but unfortunately we'll have to be off mic. So the safety car works our way down towards the end of this lap. The lights will be extinguished very shortly, because I think the recovery team are now almost back in situ. Just coming into the back door they will be, and then all of these drivers waiting with bated breath to get themselves back underway. Nathan Heathcote, of course, is going to have plenty of people behind him to try and push the buffer here. But as they come around, we're going to get one more lap, actually, because the trackside recovery team weren't quite into the pit lane. Now they are, and everything is clear on circuit. So we've eaten quite a bit into this race, unfortunately. Quickest lap does sit, though, with Nathan Heathcote on a 58.601. He, of course, is a few tenths of a second up the road, but that is irrelevant under this safety car condition. And by the time they get back round next time, we'll have probably half the race still to go. So Nathan Heathcote will have to be on his toes when we fire back into life. In fact, now the car of Gregor Froscher is into the pit, so that's good to see that recovery being done, and he has made it back safely. It does mean that the team will have to empty quite a bit of gravel out of the front of that car, but hopefully with no damage, he will be able to continue in the race a little bit later on when the second encounter comes our way. So Heathcote, Bullen-Brown and Declan Edgecombe, your top three. Nick Padmore and that of what's going to be Jonathan Page next up in the top 3. Tom Bell, keep an eye on his progress. We said 15th place now, and of course he'll be one of these drivers who really won't want this safety car to go on any longer because it's hampering his progress through the field. We did say top 20 by the end of lap 1, which was achieved. Top 5, I think, by the end of the race, and maybe a podium. But of course, the longer we stay behind safety car, the less time he has to work his way through. So it's a little bit annoying for the number 34 machine. But on this occasion, I think we are going to be going back to green flag racing yet, because the safety car lights have been extinguished. He's working his way into the pit lane, and Nathan Heathcote has left a really big gap actually here. So just making sure the time continues to erode away. But everyone here, I'm sure, today we'll want to see some racing, which we're about to have once again. So Heathcote leads them back to green in the 155 machine. Second place for number 193, which is Phil Bullen Brown. And then we've got Declan Edgecombe with Nick Padmore and Jonathan Page at top 5. So the top 2 already have broke away. So good start from Nathan and from Phil, and he might actually attack on the run down towards Paddock Hill Bend on this restart with 10.5 minutes left in the race. Further back, we're going to have a move from Nick Padmore as well. Of course, he is a historic F1 driver mainly, but when he gets the chance, always loves to jump into a Mini, predominantly here at the Mini Festival. And Nick Padmore now will be back on the podium. Yes, he will, and he might even take with him the number 33 machine of Jonathan Page, who tries to squeeze down the inside of Declan Edgecombe as they turn away now down towards the left-hander of Graham Hill Bend. Further back, there's some more moves possibly looking to take shape, and in fact there's contact there because the 43 machine of Jimmy Broadbent puts into a massive moment there. Dan Wheeler up on the grass he goes. There might be significant damage underneath that car as well, but Dan Wheeler will rejoin, but that was a hefty lift into the air for that car as Declan Edgecombe now is under pressure once more from Jonathan Page as they turn away through the right-hander of Clark Curve. And of course all of this battling is just allowing the top 2 to break away even further, with Heathcote still ahead of Phil Bullen Brown. Third place this time across the line will be number 56, Nick Padmore. Declan Edgecombe is there in 4th place. And then the fight for 5th place with Jonathan Page and Sam Summerhays turns its way now down in towards Paddock Hill Bend. A gap back then to Jimmy Broadbent, who tipped Dan Wheeler into that moment at Graham Hill Bend just a lap ago. And then onto the back of them now comes the Ollie Burkitt machine as we run still side by side through Druid Corner in what's going to be this fight for 4th position. And again, Declan Edgecombe has lost out. So 2 cars go through, Jonathan Page and Sam Summerhays up into those places ahead of Declan as they work their way down the Cooper Straight for what's going to be the 8th time of asking.
Yeah, it's great to be back up here and seeing this race. I see Nick Padmore's made his way up into 3rd place, ahead of Declan Edgecombe there, and Nick obviously recovering from the issues that were in qualifying yesterday. But our leaders now coming down past the start-finish straight. It is Nathan Heathcote still, Phil Bullen Brown, busiest man here this weekend, in holding 2nd place nicely. And those two seem to have quite a gap to the rest of the field. But it is that battle now for 4th place, which is certainly hotting up. The 33 car of Jonathan Page certainly being pressured by Sam Summerhays, who's had a very busy race because he was just doing very well in that last race, managed to finish 2nd in the last race, and is now putting pressure on 4th place in this. So yes, Sam Summerhays, bit of a lock-up as they go into Graham Hill Bend, but it's certainly putting a lot of pressure on the 4th place of Jonathan Page at the moment in the 33 car.
Is indeed, yep. So on they push once again, the top 2. Very sideways there for Nick Padmore, so he's on a mission now to try and catch the leaders, which could be achievable, but it'll need the help of them to battle to hold themselves up. But Phil Bullen Brown is the man who is really pushing now, because he's the quickest man out there, 57.344. The gap was 0.3 of a second. I think, though, Nathan Heathcote, has just responded. He was half a second quicker last time round, as Jonathan Page comes under pressure now from Sam Summerhays in towards Paddock Hill Bend, and further back we've got the battle between what's going to be Jimmy Broadbent and Ollie Burkitt as well. So Burkitt putting the pressure on as they head up towards Druids Corner, in towards the right-hander they will now go, and also into the equation there is going to be the car of number 3, which is going to be Matthew Page. So after a bit of a sluggish start from 5th down to 10th, he's now back up into 9th and onto the tail of these 2 cars ahead of him. So that's a good trio which works its way now down the Cooper Straight, and out front it's it's still that of Nathan Heathcote that has the advantage over Phil Bull and Brown. And a very Larry once again through Nick Padmore. He's driven many cars around Brands Hatch, so he knows this layout very well indeed.
Yeah, and another one to keep an eye on is just a little bit further back from Nick Padmore is now that battle for fourth place, because Duncan Edgecombe in that very easy to spot vibrant blue Mini has just joined onto the back of this battle with Sam Summerhays and Jonathan Page. That group incredibly close together, and if Sam Summerhays makes a dive down the inside of Paddock Hill Bend, and he does look like he's managed to make that one stick, so a very, very brave move there. But we can also see Duncan Edgecombe making the most of that as well, and unfortunately Jonathan Page looks like he could potentially have dropped 2 places. No, he manages to hold it off around the outside at Druids. Incredibly good defensive driving by Jonathan Page. He may have lost 1 place to Sam Summerhays, but does manage to hold off a very fast charging Duncan Edgecombe. But it has offered the opportunity for Jimmy Broadbent and Burkitt to catch right up onto this group. In fact, there is some kind of issue, I think, for Page in that 33 car. The Red Mini now suddenly going incredibly slowly, and what was a great battle he was taking part in, there's clearly some kind of technical issue because literally the entire field look like they're going past him, and he's likely to be visiting the pits now. Yeah,
that's the only problem with some of these older cars. Of course, they do have issues now and again, but I'm sure many spares will be on hand to provide the parts that are needed to repair the car there of Page. We've got 2 more cars involved. Dan Wheeler has unfortunately come to some dramas with the number 70 machine. So he was in the wars earlier with Jimmy Broadbent, and now unfortunately he's been involved with Alexander Schluchter up there at McLaren. So for some reason those 2 cars nose to tail, but not going any further. I think Dan Wheeler's pulled to a place of safety, but the other one is in a very precarious position. Yeah. So I do fear that safety car might be needed again with about 5 minutes to go as the leaders now work their way through that part of the circuit. Well, in fact, very heavy damage to the front of Alexander Schluchter's car there we saw as well.
Yeah, by the look of that, it does look like maybe there's some damage around the front wheels and that car can't move. And it is perched right on the edge of the corner there, as you say, between kind of McLaren Clearway section of the circuit. And that car is looks like it's either kind of beached or stuck there around the outside. But everyone giving it lots of room. And whilst these drivers are being very, very competitive, they are respecting the yellow flags and keeping their way away from them. But as we cast our eyes towards the leaders at the moment, as they come through Druids corner, it is still Nathan Heathcote in the 155 that leads for a very busy 193 of Phil Bull and Brown. And those 2, that gap's been pretty consistent for a number of laps so far, and they've been able to keep Nick Padmore behind them in the 56. But the safety car is now out on circuit, and I think that was relatively inevitable with that car positioned on the edge of the circuit there, that we were likely to see the safety car. The marshals do need a bit of safe space to get that car free, and the car is actually beached partly on the circuit itself. So safety prevails, as it always should, and good decision by the clerk of the course there to get the safety car out. Hopefully, if there's not too much damage on that car, the marshals can move that quite quickly, because we've still got just over 3.5 minutes left. We may be able to get a lap or 2 of racing. It just depends on the damage for that car. A bit difficult to see on the cameras at the moment, but the marshals giving it a go. And unfortunately, they're waving to say that car isn't going anywhere by the look of things, under kind of pushing power. So it does look like we're going to need some kind of recovery vehicle to assist them in getting that car clear, which is potentially going to prolong this safety car session a bit more.
Yeah, it did look like it was quite hard to move there with that significant damage on the right front. So unfortunately, it looks like he's ran into the back of Dan Wheeler, and it's just caused that damage to mean it can't go any further. So we're going to have a couple of safety car laps, which might lead us to the end of this race, unfortunately. So it's been a bit of an interrupted Sanwa trophy for these pre-66 minis, but Nathan Heathcote, when he's kind of been out front, he's managed to defend and hold off Phil Bull and Brown. So he'll be, I'm sure, happy with this result if it doesn't go back to green. But the recovery team here at Brands are very, very quick, so they might be able to tow it, and if they can, it'll be a very quick tow to the pit lane and might just give us 1 lap. But we'll be optimistic with just over 2.5 minutes of this race still to go. Nick Padmore currently sits on the podium, of course, with Sam Summerhays and Declan Edgecombe there in 5th place. Jimmy Broadbent continues to make his way up the order, so now into 6th place, but with that contact with Dan Wheeler, we'll see what happens at the end of this race, because that was a very big moment for Dan, and it might have actually caused the further stoppage for Dan Wheeler over there at McLaren just a couple of laps ago. But he has subsequently made it back into the pit lane, so he is now all safe and out of harm's way.
Yeah, the recovery vehicle is over with the number 70 car at the moment that has got that heavy damage at the front, and it does look like there may be some kind of issue because they're not moving quite quickly. Although the driver's jumping into the cab now, so hopefully that car will be making away. The safety car leading these cars around incredibly slowly at the moment. Obviously, it's getting to the point where that incident is. So the safety car will need to keep right the way over to the right-hand side of the circuit to give the marshals and the recovery team a chance to move this vehicle. But that car is now moving under power of being towed by the recovery unit. We've got a minute and a half left, and the lights are out on the safety car because Clerk of the course can clearly see all of the marshals will be clear by the time they come by next time by. So we are going to get at least one lap of green flag racing, which is great to see, isn't it?
Yeah, the marshals are actually run now. They see the lights are off, so they want to get back to post as quick as possible to be in that place of safety as Nathan Heathcote brings them back round. We're going to have a minute just over on the clock, so it might just be 2 laps for the race leader as he has to defend now on the run down towards Paddock Hill Bend, and Phil Brown knows he cannot hang about. He needs to get on with the job if he wants to win this race. He needs to try and squeeze his way through. Nick Padmore has of course now been closed in on as well because that safety car has helped to bring that gap down. So the top 3 are vying for the race victory as they all concertina together through Druids Corner. 4th place at the minute is going to be that of Sam Summerhays, with what's going to be Declan Edgecombe and Jimmy Broadbent still in 6th place. But that one now is all unfolding on the run down towards Graham Hill Bend, and I think by the looks of it Jimmy Broadbent is inside the top 5.
Yes, he certainly is by the look of things, and this is one of these moments where Nathan Heathcote must have been dreading that safety car and probably wanting it to prolong a little bit more because Phil Brown is right at the back of that Mini on the boot lid and is clearly giving him a lot of hassle, and Nick Padmore is not far behind them as well as they come down the start-finish straight and what will be to start their last lap this time by, and Phil Brown is not letting Nathan Heathcote get away as he dives to the outside as they head towards Paddock Hill Bend. He's trying to use a bit of momentum. Great bit of defensive driving by Nathan Heathcote, sticking his car in the middle of the circuit, and now as they move their way up to Druids, Phil Brown tries to make a dive to the inside. That's covered off quite nicely. He now moves to the outside of the circuit, but Nathan Heathcote putting his car bang in the middle of the circuit, making it really difficult for Phil Brown, and he's having to do all the work as he tries, as I get to Graham Hill Bend, to go around the outside. There's a puff of smoke of a lockup, and now Phil Brown tries towards the inside line, but Nathan Heathcote doing a great job of defending, making Phil Brown work for this. The cars are sliding all over, and if you're in that area of the circuit, you'll be able to see them on 3 wheels likely, but it is now Nick Padmore who senses an opportunity to dive up the inside and almost makes it past Phil Brown to take 2nd place. But as they come down towards the line, all 3 of this leading group together, but it is going to be Nathan Heathcote in the 155 who takes the win from Nick Padmore in the 193. Phil Brown in the 193 and Nick Padmore in 3rd place. But a great last 2-lap dive to finish that race. It was the 85 of Sam Summerhays who finishes in 4th place. Jimmy Broadbent in the 43 finishing in 5th. So a great top 5, and that last minute safety car gave us a cracking couple of lap finish to that race, and Nathan Heathcote doing a great job of hanging on there to the win. An incredibly good piece of driving from that leading 3 to give each other enough room, but to race very, very respectfully. And Nathan Heathcote in car 155 gets the win from the 193 of Phil Brown. Nick Padmore in the 56 finishes 3rd, followed by Sam Summerhays, Jimmy Broadbent in 5th, Declan Edgecombe in 6th, Ollie Burkett in 7th, Tom Wesley in 8th, and from the back of the grid in 9th place, Tom Bell made it into the top 10, so great drive by him. Matthew Page rounds out the top 10 in 10th place, and Stephen Woodrow and David Ogden in 11th and 12th. Jonathan Page in 13th, Mark Burkett finishing 14th, Dan Lewis in 15th, Rick Turner 16th, Nigel Fraser-Kerr 17th and 18th finisher with Neil MacArthur. Enzo Cassina in 19th place. Good to see him finish today. Fabrice Kinsell in 20th. Richard Locke in 21st. And we had a number, unfortunately, of non-finishers and a little bit of damage that needs rectifying there. We can see Dan Wheeler, the car there that caused that last couple of lap safety car there. And let's hope the damage to those cars can be fixed before before we move on. So we can see the marshals making their way out on track to do a little bit of sweeping and a little bit of clearing up. But it does look like we've got the leading trio of very hard-working, and it's nice to see the leaders giving each other a congratulatory hug down there as they pull into the pit lane. And we should have Matt with us to grab an interview with our winning three. I'm not sure if you're ready, Matt. Maybe not. We'll give it a second or two before he's ready with the radio mic down there. But we can see a very, very happy three drivers. Not only because they're driving fantastic minis that have been incredibly well prepared, but able to provide the entertainment here at Brands Hatch. What was an absolutely superb race with these three drivers, giving us incredibly close racing. And Matt, are you there ready with the leading three?
We are indeed, yeah. Thanks, Rob. We had to make the run down the pit lane because everyone else got waved down, but the other three were at the other end. But we're here now, so let's drive. There you go, he's got his hat now. Let's bring in Nathan Heathcote first off then. Nathan, come and join us over here. Well done. We know you had a great battle last year with Joe Ferguson. We had another great battle today with Phil Bunham-Brown.
Yeah, I knew Phil was going to be quick because he set a pretty unreal lap yesterday. But I was watching him on mirrors the whole time, and when the safety car came out the second time, I thought, oh no, really? But yeah, managed to defend him off. But I think we've got another 2 races together today, so we'll see what happens.
They did make it easy for you, did they? Because the safety car kept coming out, and you knew you had to do a good restart to kind of keep it there.
Yeah, I just had to defend like hell on the last lap. So yeah, no, brilliant race as always. So thanks.
And what's it like to drive these pre-66 minis? They're pretty much original, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean I did a lot of driving before I got into minis, and it's probably the most fun thing I've ever driven. It's like a go-kart on a car racing circuit. So yeah, if anyone out there wants to have a go at it, get involved in the historic racing. So
good stuff. Nice to see a smile on your face as well. Let's have a quick word with Phil Bunham-Brown. He finished in second place. Phil, you kept him as honest as possible there. You tried every single trick in the book.
I tried. I really tried. I was a bit nervous in corner one, having just got out of the MIG. I was thinking, what kind of grip have we got? I've got no idea. I've just got to get a different head on. And it took me a couple of laps to get into it, to be honest. But by which time Nathan's already got the tyres warm and he's going. He's a class act. Really tough work. So full credit to him. And I always knew I had this chap somewhere lurking behind that could pop out at any minute. So when there was a safety car, I was pleased because I could close the gap on Nathan. It was the only chance I had, to be honest, at one point. And then I knew that it would close Nick in as well. So I thought we're going to be in a little bit of a fight to the end here. But it was a great fight, and Nathan, we never touched, and that's what's great. Great racing, great fun. All get out with smiles. It's terrific.
And we did say in commentary that you're probably one of the busiest men here this weekend with plenty of races to get involved in. How many are you doing?
5 today, yeah, because we last minute decided we'd get involved in the 50th anniversary, and I was sharing it with Scott, who runs the cars for me, and he went and put it on pole. Yeah, we're involved in everything now. I just hope Nathan runs out of rubber. That's what I really hope.
Do you hope for a resumption of that battle, maybe you on top next time round?
We obviously all hope, that's all why we're here, but to be honest, if we have a great race and we all go home in one piece, I'm happy with that.
Good stuff. Well done, Phil. Congratulations on second. And let's bring Nick Padmore in, who's a very familiar face here at the Mini Festival. Nick, we're used to seeing you in ex-F1 cars and historic cars, but this must be a joy to come back to.
Yeah, and it's I've done Mini Festival for years now, normally my Miglia. So I bought the historic December time, so I thought I'd get it out. And thanks to Nick at Swift Tune, he made it possible for me to be here. But I really, really struggled. When we had the safety cars, thank God we'd at least bunch up a little bit, but it's just too sideways. So hopefully we'll try something and try and make it a bit faster. But these guys drove really well, and, mini racing is the best, isn't it? When you look at how close and the angles they get to is really, really cool. So, yeah, race 2 will be good.
You did say it's too much sideways. That's a joy for everyone here at Brands Hatch to watch, but probably not for you.
Yeah, it slows you down. So it's going more and more sideways, and you just see the revs dropping off and those guys pulling away. So, yeah, we'll try something. So me and my dad are running myself and a few mates. So, yeah, I'll keep polishing it. Yeah. That'll make it faster. Yeah.
You can win, show and shine then.
Exactly, yeah. I'll go up there and do that.
In terms of yesterday, briefly, it was an electrical problem. Was that correct?
Yeah, thank God. I came over the line and the engine just died. I was like, oh, God, I don't need that. And luckily, a wire had come off. So, 40 minutes of panic. And then the Swift Tune boys who don't stop working on these engines come over and went, oh, yeah, there we go. So it's good, yeah.